Sergeant Be Safe here. And do you think I fight crime all by myself? Well, I don't. There's a whole team of us, and right now I'm gonna introduce you to one of them. He's on his way here now. When he gets here, I want you to give him a warm welcome.
Hey crew, Captain Chaos here. I'm also a canine handler. Here's my dog Kraken.
Release the Kraken! Dance with my dogs in the nighttime.
Together we fight crime and keep everyone safe.
He's absolutely right. And he has a partner that rides along with him every day. It's his canine. And they work together to sniff out crooks that like to cause you and me trouble.
You guys know me. I'm Rob You Blind. No, I don't live here. This door was left unlocked. You guys make it very easy for me to steal your valuables. Sometimes I get my friends Chance Wilder and Treacherous Tony to help me.
Chance Wilder at your service. I'm the computer hacker and IT whiz. The scammer of all scammers. My friends Rob You Blind and Treacherous Tony often help me.
Yeah, I'm Treacherous Tony. I deal illegal drugs and pills.
This is just terrible news. Avoid him at all costs.
My new friends Robbie Blind and Chance Wilder brought me into their crew. I don't sell it to kids. I give it to them.
Ooh. Party pooper, be safe. You can't stop me. I know my rights. I'm just walking around here.
All right. I give up. I won't do it again.
Film Pack.
With more chaos comes more confusion. However, I'm Sergeant Be Safe, and I'll continue to stay here to give you your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.
Let's go, start the show.
I'm now.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Black and Blue. For those of you this is your first time attending, I'm your host. I'm Coach Clee. I'm your motivational speaker, your author, your favorite baker's favorite baker. Got tongue-tied there for a minute. But thank you guys for tuning in. We're having a lot of fun. We're transitioning 2023 as a new year. We transitioned last year from going to the lab to Black and Blue, where now we're 100% Black and Blue, where we interview police officers all throughout the nation who are either rookie, seasoned, or retirees, and their businesses, their products, or their publications, things along those lines. We try and bring you valuable services, valuable knowledge to this platform. So make sure you guys share it around. Okay, we got a wonderful guest here in the studio. I'll introduce her here in a minute, but I got to get some housekeeping rules out there. We're streaming on 5 different platforms right now, ladies and gentlemen. We are 2 on Facebook, 1 on LinkedIn, and 2 on YouTube. So if you got to put your comments or your name and where you're from in the comment section so I can address you if you do have a comment. Otherwise, I can't see you. Make sure you guys keep the likes up, keep the engagement up. We're going to have a lot of fun. This is going to be very interactive. We're going to learn a lot of things. But this you already saw Starting to Be Safe commercial. This is sponsored by One Way Publishing. One Way Publishing is a book publishing company. You see some of the books that I wrote behind us, and there's plenty more that the company has also done. They also sponsor Starting to Be Safe. One Way Publishing's motto is they can turn a mere thought and turn it into a book that's bought. You can check out the website, workwithclee.com. That is scrolling below, and it's also in the comment section. Don't do it now, but make sure you guys check that thing out and get back to us with any questions. Starting to Be Safe is going to give us a quick intro on One Way Publishing, and we're going to jump right into the interview. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Sergeant Be Safe. One Way Publishing is the sponsor for the podcast Black and Blue. And these books behind me are a few of the books that are on their website. Check out the latest one, The Lab Part 2. It just came out. It's a compilation of former guests that were on the show. But make sure you tune into the podcast. That way you can see cartoons of me giving out safety tips on how you can be safe. See for yourself. Go to the website, workwithclee.com.
Subscribe now.
Yep, and like you guys already saw in the intro, today is a very special day for law enforcement. Today is National Police Officers Appreciation Day. So if you know one, if you see one, make sure you give them a shout out. Let them know how much you appreciate them and their service. We appreciate everyone working. I'm just getting off. I just worked overnight this entire weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I got about 4 hours of sleep today. So I had to get up early and prepare for this live interview because we're excited and it's important to bring this information to the forefront. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to introduce to you Bridget Truxillo. He's hailing in from, she's been on multiple podcasts. She's done a lot. She's got a lot of good information. She's a former law enforcement officer who's also worked patrol. She's also been undercover for narcotics. She's also been on the SWAT team. Then she decided to transition and move on and become an attorney, then become the founder and CEO of her own company, Lady Law Shield, where she represents and gives advice to other law enforcement officials on how to make sure that they're better prepared and protected throughout their career and after their career. And she also talks about protective wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to bring her to the stage right now. Bridget, are you there?
Clee.
How you doing? Thank you for being on the show. I'm excited to have you.
Oh, I'm excited too. This took us a little while to make it happen, so I'm excited that we're in a new year and we're all happy and healthy and here together to have a fun conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to learn a lot and we're going to have fun doing it. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, as you said, I'm an attorney. You can see I have all my paperwork behind me. I have been an attorney now for, I don't know, like 15 years or something. And behind me are my college degree and law school. And then I'm actually licensed in 4 states, which is what these other big pieces of paper are. And I put those darn things on the wall because it was way too much work to get those degree, the licenses. So I'm an attorney. I'm licensed to practice in Texas, in order of in which I got them: Texas, Florida, New York, and Louisiana. I have done primarily all civil litigation. So I never got involved. After I left law enforcement, people would say, "Oh, you should have gone to the not public defenders, district attorney's office." And I actually tried that, but that took too long, and I needed to get a job and start making money. And so I went into litigation, and but always I wanted to do something to help cops. But anyway, that's ultimately that later. But I am sort of from Louisiana. I was born there, moved around a lot, and then moved back. I went to university for college, so I'm a Go Gator. Anybody watching, I'm Go Gators. I'm giving you the Gator chomp, even though they're
a lot of enemies.
I am a mom of 3 kids. They're 11, 10, and 5, and I have a wonderful husband. I love my family. So I like to spend. My favorite thing to do is spend time with either my immediate family that I just described, or my extended family, very close to my mom and dad and my brother and sister. So that's me. It's a lot of things. Oh, and I have 2 businesses. So I have Lady Law Shield and I have Protective Wellness.
Gotcha. And we're going to get into how both they're 2 separate entities, but they work hand in hand. I know that you talk about that very eloquently. What's your current role and responsibilities now? I know you touched on it, but can you elaborate on it a little more?
So primarily, brass tacks are my money-making endeavors are being an attorney. And so I get people who reach out to me from across the country that are dealing with different legal issues. Lately, I have 2 predominant issues. One is, unfortunately, harassment discrimination, something along those lines, for women in law enforcement.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it happens way too much. And then it was new to me because I never knew of it when I was in law enforcement, but it's people that get put on something called a Brady Giglio list, where if some of your listeners may be aware of it, but if you, the DA that handles your jurisdiction for whatever reason thinks that you are untruthful, they'll put you on a Brady Giglio list, and then they'll share that with the entire jurisdiction. And then basically they're telling everybody you're a liar and can't be trusted. And while we've all heard stories of cops that the bad apples, which are few and far between, that unfortunately it's used for really bad reasons, harassment reasons, political reasons, and people it's really hard to fight it. So I help people figure out if there's some way for them to fight it. Unfortunately, there's not always a way to do that, but and I've had more and more and more people reach out to me because I represented one person, and then 3 more people came, and then 3 more people came, and it's super unfortunate. I mean, it's to the point where many states are actually looking at making legislation around it, on making it like if a DA is going to do this, that they have to have rules and procedures to make it more standardized, because it's just a free-for-all. And just like cops have qualified immunity, DAs or state attorneys have a level of immunity that's really hard to overcome. So once they put you on this list, even if it's for crap reasons, it's really hard to fix it. So sadly, I've been helping more and more cops try and figure out what to do about that. But yeah, I mean, harassment, it still amazes me, all the stupid crap that people will say to other, like, women on the job. I wish they would stop that. Number 1, I wish they would respect women as being valuable on the job. And number 2, I wish they'd stop saying really stupid stuff that they should know, that they really should know better. But that's what I spend my time doing. But then also the wellness. I think that you just can't talk about wellness enough when it comes to law enforcement or all first responders, but particularly I know the law enforcement world. So, I mean, one of the reasons I left is because I started to feel the effects of the world you live in and all the negativity, and how you have to live like, you have to handle every situation like you could die in it. And I had a really hard time balancing that. I had a hard time wanting to live like from a place of positivity, but also having to assume the worst in everybody you deal with just so you could go home at the end of the day. And I didn't know how to balance that. And I thought I was exercising, I was healthy, but that wasn't enough. And I didn't know what else to do. And there were no wellness programs when I left. So I do those 2 things.
Gotcha. And I know that must consume. That's got to be stressful in itself. And I know that it has to consume a lot of your daily time and free time as well to actually remain to stay positive, remain to stay mentally healthy, physically healthy, helping law enforcement officers around the country to get through situations that we don't often know how to get through, or are willing to reach out and ask questions, because you don't, once you fall into that realm where if you feel like we're the helpers, so we don't need help. If we ask for help, then obviously we're not fit for duty, and that's the stigma that a lot of us fall into.
100%. And along those lines, which one of the areas I didn't mention that I talk to people about is workers' compensation. What I mean by that is that cops, you're under so much stress that living under that much stress, that continuously creates its own physical illnesses and issues.
Yeah.
And that will 100% manifest somehow, some way, whether that's a mental issue later or an actual physical issue, illness. And one of the things I tell people all the time is I spend a lot of my time just educating law enforcement officers on, just know this, that there are more illnesses included in what's called considered an on-the-job illness or injury. It's more broad for law enforcement than it is for civilians.
Okay.
And so there are things like, for example, hypertension. And if you don't know what that, explaining it, but look it up. If you're dealing with like illnesses, just Google hypertension. You'll get the definition. Maybe there's something in there and you think, oh my gosh, that's me. Go to your department right away and make a claim, because you are going to leave this job someday, and you want to be able to be happy. You want to be healthy. You want to be able to enjoy your family and your friends and just life in general, and walk and enjoy that sunset or whatever. You don't want to be so angry or sick that you can't enjoy life, and you will retire. I mean, if I had stayed in, I would be getting close to retiring right now. And so I can't, that blows my mind. And to know that all the crap I would have seen and dealt with, it requires so much proactive effort to overcome all of that. You're still doing it. I mean, just the sleep deprivation alone, Clee, that you deal with.
I know.
That creates so many issues. But that is another one where all I want you to do is just understand what I'm saying about workers' comp. What is workers' comp? It's just basically a type of insurance that covers you getting sick, that's different and separate from your health insurance. And there's a lot of ways that you can get benefits from that, but you can't get it if you don't tell your department that you need it. So that's what I just try and educate people. I'm not necessarily the one that's going to help you with your workers' comp, because it's a very state specific issue. Those are state laws that govern that. That's not a federal thing. But if you're not an attorney, contact your HR department, do something, and don't let your ego get in the way. That's what you say, like, we're so busy helping others, and I'm so strong, and I have to be tough, and I'm the strong one people turn to. But you have to reach out to someone, because like I said, at some point you will not be doing this job anymore. And then what? Then you do have to take care of yourself, and I don't want it to be too late.
Exactly. I like how you help point people in the right direction, but you still have to take that step to get things done. Absolutely. I want to take a few steps back, actually. What actually gave you the burning desire to wanting to get into the law enforcement field? Was it something you knew as a child? Was it something that you got turned on in high school or college or early adult? Or what made you decide that, I'm going to go out here and put this uniform on. I'm going to wear this badge. I'm going to take on all this stuff that no one normally likes to take on, but we take it on with pride. Right.
And there is a tremendous amount of pride in it. And that's what makes me sad about the state of affairs. I think a lot of cops still have pride. It's just it's sad that too many people in the public have a negative opinion of us. And I still will say us because I did it. I think there's a ton of pride. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not commendable. It's just pride and bravery and all the great things about being a cop. You run to the gunfire when everybody else will run away. Why did I do it? Nobody in my family's ever been in law enforcement before that I've ever known of. And so I was certainly different in that way. My dad thought I was nuts, but it was just a long run of him thinking I was nuts. I would say, if I had to back it way up, and maybe this is like a therapy session, but we'll talk about this. Just kidding. I've already talked to my therapist about it. I also believe everyone should seek therapy, by the way. Don't be too proud to talk to a therapist on a regular basis. I do it every 2, 3, 4 weeks, and it keeps me sane. So that's my 2 cents on that. But I moved around a lot growing up, and during the middle school, high school years, which I think start to be really hard, especially as a girl. I don't know what it's like to be a boy, so I can't speak to what that's like. But I can tell you that as a girl, when you start moving around, when the mean girl phase hits, it's hard. And so I moved around for a lot for that, and then but finished out high school in the same city. But then I hated high school. Girls are mean, really mean. Went to the University of Florida because I didn't know a single soul there. I did that on purpose because I either could have gone to LSU or Louisiana Tech, and everybody I went to high school with, half of them went to Tech, half of them went to LSU. I didn't want any of that. I didn't want an extension crap. So I went to University of Florida where I wouldn't know anybody. That's like, oh, I'm going to do something that's nobody else is going to do. Move where I don't know anyone. Exactly. And I finished college. And I was like, I'm not going to use my degree. I'm going to go to the police academy next week. And, that's what somebody else will do. So I think part of that is, I know that a big part of it is at some point, maybe I had like a chip on my shoulder where I was like, I'm just going to show you guys that I'm tough and I don't need you to like me, So, but I definitely have always very much been like a rule follower, right and wrong, nice and mean. Like if you're mean, I think it's wrong. And so I wanted to do something where I got to, I believe in right and wrong, and I wanted to be able to participate in that and in helping, not enforce, I guess enforce, that's what law enforcement does, but enforce the right and help say you're wrong, here's your consequences. I used to tell people like marijuana's, why are you arresting me for weed? It's not bad. Different time now than it was then. I would say, look, I don't make the laws. My job is to enforce them. If you don't like it, go vote next time there's an election.
Exactly.
And, I liked that I was going to be doing something that quote unquote made a difference. And for all the cops out there, I don't care what you say. Yes, you make a difference. I know it's hard to feel that, but you do. And I wanted a job that required me to be fit. So I've always been into size. Running used to be, not now that I'm in my 40s, it hurts. And I wanted a job that required me to be fit, but of course I got into patrol and quickly realized that like the whole donut thing is legit. Like there's too many cops that are not in good enough shape. And so that's why one of the many reasons I decided to go to the narcotics and SWAT route is because you only need to be fit for that. For sure, SWAT, you got to be fit, especially as a female. You got to be fit. And so I loved that part of SWAT, being all the training, freaking loved it. So it's a long way of saying that I didn't have any family ties to it, but I wanted to, I guess part of it, prove that I could, and then also do something that mattered.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And then and getting that chip off your shoulder and going to school in a different state to get away from kids from school, which I totally understand. You go through that phase, kind of want to start over in life. You want to go a different direction, right from wrong. You want to help be an advocate of people that's doing right and educate people who are doing wrong. And in the process, you want to prove yourself and physically fit by being undercover. You split second decisions. I know that I was on the task force a few years ago. Wow, more than a few years ago now, but I understand. And then to be on the SWAT team, yes, it does fly. To be on the SWAT team, you have to be sharp, physically fit, and you got to be proficient with a lot of different kind of weapons and utilization of different kind of equipment. So learning that, in the process of doing that, did you develop, or did you have any mentors or influencers that helped you along the process to help you develop in who you are now?
So before I went, when I was in college, I worked at this health club, like a gym, and again, I could get a free gym membership out of that. And it turned out to be one of the most influential jobs I've ever had at a health club. So it's called the Gains of Health and Fitness Center. And my supervisor, or the manager of the club, was this guy, Danny Stevens. And he ended up leaving and going to start, he and his co-founder started this company called O to Be, like the O to Be Kids, the letter O, the number 2, the letter B, Kids. And it's this amazing children's entertainment and education facility. And there were several of us that worked for him at the Gainesville and Fitness Center that then went with them when they opened up O to Be Kids. It was one of the hardest things I ever did at the time.
Okay.
Somebody start a multi-million-dollar business, which was freaking hard. But he would, I mean, I was at a gym where I left, I was making like $15 an hour, and I thought I was like a high roller back then. But I was a supervisor at a health club, and we would have weekly supervisor meetings, and we would meet on like 7 habits of highly effective people. And each week our assignment was to review the chapter, and then we'd have homework and we'd talk about it. And then we'd have individual meetings with him where he would hold us accountable for what we were doing in our work. And I remember one time I said, "Oh, that just makes me so mad." And he said, "Nobody makes you mad." Like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Nobody makes you feel anyway. You choose to be that." And I'm saying, like, years, I was 20 years old then. I'm 47 now. I can say still, I'm like, "Oh, I want to be mad right now, but I know no one's making me be that." And that is you talk about like something that takes proactive effort. But if you can really wrap your head around that, especially in law enforcement, that's why I say 7 highly effective people for law enforcement is a profound book if you can really study it and do the work, because it's a choice. Anytime you're mad, I don't care who's spitting in your face.
Yeah.
It's a choice. And so he was an amazing mentor. And I told him years later, I was like, I would not be the person I am now had I not met him at that time in my early 20s. And I don't think it would have been a bad person. It's not like I would have been like that or a criminal. You know, they say sometimes there's a fine line between cop and criminal, because I'm a complete dork when it comes to like, "Oh, you can't do that. That's against the law." But he just really taught me how much personal responsibility we have in everything. He introduced me to, it's up here on my shelf, the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And the second agreement is don't take things personal. That's another one. Like, if you can really dig into what that means, also for law enforcement, like, it doesn't matter how anybody's reacting to you. You have a choice. Don't take it personal. Ultimately, it doesn't have anything to do with you. Somebody's choice and how they react doesn't have anything to do with you. My argument with my husband, well, maybe I did something crappy and he's mad at me, I'm still not responsible for how he chooses to respond to that. So my therapist and I have a lot of conversations around that too. But, I think that's profound, and I would not be the person I am today. And also my captain at the sheriff's office, he was the in HR at the time when I went to the sheriff's office to just decide, like, just thinking about the idea of being in law enforcement. And then he ended up being a champion for me throughout my time there. I would not have had the opportunities I had, including SWAT, if it had not been for him. His name's Emery Gainey. He retired. He ended up working for Florida Department of Law Enforcement, which is he and I still keep in touch. We talk once or twice a year. He's just my trajectory would have not been the same without him. So I would say those 2 people. And you need a mentor. I made that post. I made a funny post not too long ago. People will say, "Why'd you get in law enforcement?" I'll say, "Well, I watched G.I. Jane and I thought that was cool and I was going to shave my head, but I didn't." And no disrespect to any Navy SEALs out there, because that's hard, and nothing I've ever done that hard. But I think my point of that post at the time was mentors matter. Find somebody that pushes you, holds you accountable, share things with, get insight from. And so I do think that, I wouldn't be the same. I'm sure you have that. I know you've shared in the past that we all have somebody that did those things for us that our life would have, it's like a crossroads, Yeah.
Absolutely. I like how we talked about this on the show many times before in other live interviews, where in 2022 our motto is self-awareness is sexy, And that is because mentors, that bring us up, you're always learning, you're always getting education, you always have to develop, always have to find a way to reinvent yourself, to make yourself better. And that's basically what we're saying, that the mentors have, not that you would have been a bad person, not that things wouldn't have worked out, your life would have gone a different direction, but because that influence, that the studying the 7 effective habits, I believe that's what you said.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a long book title.
Yeah. Is that Stephen Covey book?
Stephen Covey. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then studying that, I mean, it works on your mental, and then working on your mental, you address the head, the body falls in line.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stay tuned. We're going to take a 2-minute pause for the calls with Sergeant Be Safe, and we're going to come right back. All right. Stand by here.
I can't wait until my new children's book is finally published. Just riding along in my car listening to music.
Yeah, of course you are. And you're not looking in your rearview mirror either.
OMG, is that Sergeant Be Safe behind me? Guess I should get out of the way.
Oh my goodness! Pull over to the right and get out of the way! There's an emergency up ahead and I need to get there! Drivers, you should be operating your vehicle with your radio at a reasonable level. You should also be aware of your surroundings, including what's behind you. So when I come through with my flashing lights and siren, you can immediately get out the way and I can go help whoever's in danger or whatever emergency is happening. Those seconds that it takes for you to pull over are very valuable. Me and my friends need every second imaginable so we can properly serve you. So pull over to the right immediately when you see our lights and sirens so we can go save a life.
Ah, my packages have finally arrived. About time. I'm sure glad I live in an area where nothing happens. Only action around here are deer chomping on people's flowers. I'll take him in after I get done cutting this here grass. This is my favorite pastime.
Aha! I see a package left unattended.
Another crime of opportunity.
Easy pickings for a guy like me. Oh no! There's Be Safe again.
Sergeant Be Safe,
Hello
is that
there.
you? It's good to see you.
Looks like I'm right on time again. Rob, you blind? Get out of there.
People make it so easy for me to get caught.
Hold on now. He really wanted to steal my packages?
Yes, he did.
Sergeant Be Safe, you're the best. The coolest cat in the land. You saved the day again. We need more like you, brother. We need more like you.
Trust me, I truly appreciate the glory and accolades. But you can really thank me by being vigilant over your property and making my job easy. Well, back to jail you go.
Ooh.
Package thieves are the worst. Even if you can't get home in time, invest in the security camera so you can catch these thieves. And their next view will look like this. Trust me, this isn't a good view. These seats aren't made for comfort, they're made to transport. Kids, this is one seat you don't want to sit in. Just imagine what your parents would think.
Ooh.
And this is Sergeant Be Safe giving you another tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.
And we are back. Let me remove this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you guys for watching Sergeant Be Safe. giving out safety tips. We're back with our interview. We got Bridget Truxillo here. We had a wonderful first half of the interview. We're going to continue on moving. We're going to kind of change gears a little bit. I'm going to ask Bridget, when you started your company, Lady Law Shield, did you foresee that you would, for one, be the founder and CEO of it? And did you know who that you would be serving police officers that are currently working in that environment? Or did you have a totally different plan when you originated your company?
When I left law enforcement, as mad as I was about the circumstances in which I left, because the SWAT situation was extremely frustrating.
Okay.
I still never, I mean, people have said, oh, I can't believe you wanted to help, even though you had such a bad, difficult experience, but I still want to help cops. I think when you know better, you do better. And I think that also comes from, wellness training. And so I did not know I'd be able to help in wellness. But after decades of me getting certifications, doing leadership trainings, running my own, being an attorney, honestly, I didn't want to start my own business. I wanted the perfect job to fall from the heavens and land in my lap, and so that I didn't have to be in business to do what I like. And that didn't happen. And also, I was an attorney doing litigation. I called it the golden handcuffs. I was making enough money to not leave, even though I hated it.
Oh, yeah.
I am a firm believer that it's never too late. It's never too late to do what you want to do. It's never too late to start running or eat different or stop smoking or be kinder or whatever it is. It's never too late. Get that degree you want. I don't care how old you are. It's never too late. So I knew that I wanted to help law enforcement someday. I just didn't know what that was. Like I said, I didn't want to have to do my own business. But ultimately, living in the law firm world, I just was so miserable that I decided, actually it was 3 years ago, about the fall of 2019, I was like, that's it. I've had it. I don't care if I'm never a lawyer again. I just want to help cops. And that was also, and then we went into the summer. This was before the George Floyd incident happened, where, since we all know what happened. But the summer of 2020, I spent 2 weeks being mad that the whole world assumes all cops are evil and want to kill people. And then decided, well, what can I do to help? And I said, when you know better, you do better. Well, I think all cops are always doing things wrong and violating criminal civil rights? No, I don't think that at all. But do I think that agencies could do more to help cops with their wellness and make sure they're always okay and prevent maybe some reactions in situations that might not have otherwise happened? Yes, I do think they could do that. So that's why I really started focusing on the wellness. And then, as I said earlier, I don't want to give up being a lawyer. I have all these pieces of paper on the wall that I'm still paying for. And I like that I'm a lawyer. I like that I have that I can help. Everything that I have that I'm offering is something I wish had been available to me when I was a cop. Yes, it was in a union, but I didn't trust my union guy. Would never have sought assistance from him on something because of the stuff I was facing at my department. He was just part of the same equation, and I didn't know who to turn to. And there was no females in a position like I was in that I knew of that I could say, hey, how do I deal with all of this? And ultimately, I left. And I don't want cops to leave. I want you and everybody else that's on this job. I mean, retire when you want to retire, but until that point, stay on the job. We need you. We want you. You're passionate about this. You believe in it. Stay in it. And so I know I would not have thought I would start Lady Law Shield, and then when I started the wellness side, I still wanted to be able to answer your legal questions is a wellness tool. Because if you're dealing with internal agency issues, you're dealing with harassment, you're dealing with, and I'm talking about things that, there are people that can help you with if you're being sued for use of force and stuff like that. I don't get involved in those things, mostly because most times that's a union that can help you with that.
Okay.
I can certainly help people find a lawyer if they're not in a union, because I have litigated across the country, and I know attorneys in almost every state. So if ever you need to find an attorney, let me know. I can help you. But even if it's not me, I just want to help. So I believe that if all I'm doing is spending an hour with you, and I get paid for an hour, I get paid for an hour, 2 hours. Really, I'm transitioning that into a 2 hour, like fee, not a 1 hour, because too many things come up in 1 hour. Where all I do is I review everything you want me to review. I answer your questions, and at the end of it, you have a plan. Because I think just that, and then you pay me for 2 hours instead of paying $7,000 or $10,000. Because I believe that is a wellness tool, because then you're not spending as much time worrying about, because these legal things are all consuming. And then you can go live your life, be happier, focus on the job when you're on the job, not get hurt, not make a bad decision. So I 100% believe the people. And because I also like looking at everything, like there's plenty of negative in the world. I choose to be what I call a positive Polly, not a Debbie Downer. And even though I'm helping you with problems, my intention is to help you provide some light in that. I can't make your problems go away. And a lot of times the advice I'm giving you is going to really create more of a shitstorm. I don't believe that. Sorry.
That's
but sometimes you got to make things harder before you can find the good. And so I am very, very happy that this is what it has evolved into. I say all the time, I'm 47 years old, and I feel like I'm finally doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. But I couldn't have done this any sooner, because I needed to go through everything I went through, get the experience I got in 15 years of litigation, so that I can help you in the way that I can help you. So it's all perfect.
Absolutely. And we're very appreciative of it. I'm going to ask, it may kind of put you on the spot, but it kind of gives a little foundation. Could you share some of your experiences on why you decided to walk away from the law enforcement occupation? And then that way I want to ask, then lead into what kind of experience, because of those experiences, how does that help you interact with law enforcement? Anyone who contacts you now who needs to get out of a situation or to get out of that storm that you were talking about?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, unfortunately, I talk with a lot of women in law enforcement that are dealing with harassment, discrimination. Like I said, I was in the undercover narcotics unit. A lot of that time, I did have another female on there with me for about half the time, but then the other half, it was just me. There was a lot of overlap. A lot of the guys on the narcotics unit were also on the SWAT team. My agency was not big enough to where we didn't have a full-time SWAT team, so we were what you call a call-out team. So we would get called out to serve warrants, hostage situations, active shooter all that kind of stuff, robberies. I remember one funny story happened on a Friday the 13th. If we have time, I'll tell you. But all hell broke loose on a Friday afternoon. Because I was the only female on SWAT team, and I didn't have like physically harassing things, but as time went on, it just became harder. It just was so obvious that it was just not, they just didn't want me there. And really, I don't think it was the whole team. I just think it was like a sergeant or two, and then the guy running the team, who also happened to be the guy running the narcotics unit. So it was just never got away from it.
Yeah.
And it was just nothing I ever did was right enough. And for years, I would say, for the first couple of years, okay, you're right. I made a mistake. I can do better. Okay, you're right. I made a mistake. I can do better. But finally, I'd be like, okay, I made a mistake. But it doesn't everybody else? And then I would see other people, like the straw that broke the camel's back was one time we were doing, and I'll try to make this short, but we were doing, if anybody remembers Columbine, I know there's a lot of active shooter situations, but after Columbine, the issue with that was they didn't go into that building fast enough, and there were kids in that building that bled out. And so that was a complete 180. Like now, like active shooter, go in. And we would even, as SWAT team, train our whole sheriff's office. Like if you're the first person on scene, go in. Do not wait for SWAT. And so we would train on that a lot. And it was summertime, and we were at a high school that was in like a not good area, like a not safe area. And then all of us on narcotics unit, almost all of us were SWAT. So we had all the gear in our cars. And so you pop a trunk and there's ammo and shotguns and flashbangs and grenades and, Benelli, like automatic shotguns and MP5s and I mean, you have all this stuff. And we walk out of this building, we're taking a break. And my sergeant, who gave me such a hard time, also on the SWAT team, his entire car was open. And he was a team leader on. He had all the things that you do not want bad guys getting their hands on. His trunk was open, his window was down, and nobody said a thing to him about it. He didn't get in trouble, nothing. I ended up like, this is it. I can't take this anymore. I went to my lieutenant, the SWAT commander, and said, I just want equal treatment. Like, if I'm going to get in trouble, everybody should get in trouble. If they're not going to get in trouble, I should get. Like, I don't mind being like coached and schooled on things, but stop writing me up. Stop giving me 500 mountain climbers. Stop like putting a letter in my file. Stop it. And they ended up calling me a snitch behind my back. It's a longer story to it. But like, when I found out 2 weeks later that basically my commander told everybody I was trying to rat out one of my own teammates, which I would never do. Mm-hmm. That was it. Like, that was 2.5 years of me like, you can take this and shove it where the sun doesn't shine. And I went to my captain, who I told you was, at the time, he was the one looking out for me. And I walked into his office one day and I was like, that's it. I want off narcotics unit. I want off the SWAT team today, like right now, like next week. And I want day shift. I'm tired of nights. And so he's like, you got it. And I left. By that time, I knew I was leaving. I knew that I was going to law school. I was studying for the LSAT, so hope going to law school somewhere. But those departments, unless they made me, until I left. And so anyway, and so I tell that story. People hear the story, and they're like, "Hey, like, I'm not on SWAT, but I'm dealing with the same thing." Like, you don't have to be on SWAT to be dealing with crap. You don't have to be. I've helped a female who was basically pushed out of a position, and then she asked for some accommodations. They told her no, and then the guy that came behind her got some accommodations that she should have gotten, and they gave her this a female who literally, I don't need to repeat some of the stuff these guys say to them in front of witnesses. Like, it's just outrageous. But what I try to tell people is, it doesn't have to be the sexually explicit offensive statement. It could be what I would call, what I experienced is what you call a hostile work environment. They created a hostile work environment with the intention so that you will leave because they think, oh, well, I didn't do anything to her. She just broke a rule. Okay, but this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And so, ultimately you get to the point where you're like, I just can't take it anymore. And then on top of the fact where, like I said, like, you see so many, the things that bothered me the most was like seeing the stuff about kids, like things that happened bad to kids, or the environments that the kids were growing up in. And you call Child Protective Services and they're overworked and they can do about it. And you're like, great, I'm leaving this home where they're selling crack, like basically off this kid's high chair. Yeah. What chance does that kid have? And it's just heartbreaking. Or seeing the brain matter of a 2-year-old because he found a gun while all the adults were high and passed out one afternoon. Like, that just gets to you. Or taking a girl to the jail and I didn't check all of her lady parts, and then I get in trouble because I didn't check the lady parts and there was something inside of there. And I was like, no, that's the jail. I'm sorry, people in the jail, but that's your job. That's not my job. And it's just like, how much more crap negativity can you see before you start to think, you become cynical? You're like, everybody's bad. Well, that's not all people are bad. And I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't know how to handle that. I told my captain at some point, I was like, look, I know some of my mistakes have been because I wasn't assuming the worst possible scenario in that example. But I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to live. I can't live that way. I can't live in a way where I have to assume every human is evil. Mm-hmm. And yet you have to go home at the end of the day. So I didn't know how to balance that.
And become a regular person afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you're not the same person. And then I don't want to shut out everybody else that I know that's not in the law enforcement world because they don't understand. But you end up doing that. And it's like even like the wellness course that I created is to create things in your life and do the work, and just 5 minutes a day. Here's a task. Spend 5 minutes writing down people you haven't talked to since you started in law enforcement. or people you haven't talked to since you were 5 years in law enforcement, because I bet you those groups have changed, or write those, contact them again, go back to that church group, go back to that social club you were in, go back to that basketball game you used to go to, separate yourself from the job, because eventually you won't be in that job. And like I said earlier, it's not just a health issue, a physical health issue, it's a mental health issue. Separate yourself from it in as many ways as you can. Continue to educate yourself, read books, meditate, watch the sunset, watch a TV show that makes you realize we're on this teeny tiny planet in this vast expanse of blackness. So the whole makes you realize, where really is this thing you're worried about? Is it really that important?
Yeah.
And so, but I'm 47. I'm not 27 anymore. So thankfully, I wouldn't go back. I really wouldn't go back. So that's a really long way of saying, yes, there were a lot of things I dealt with. And when I help people now, I can say, I completely understand. I think, especially as a cop, you don't understand. And I think there's a lot of great people out there who have not been cops who are doing great work helping. But I think if I'm trying to help a cop and that I've done it, and so I understand, I just think it makes it that much easier for you to say, okay, then, well, let me tell you what's happening. I think a lot of times cops worry about burdening others if they don't understand, because you don't want to upset them. Whether I tell you the full story about the 2-year-old whose brain matter, I don't want to tell that to very many people, because it would upset them too much. Like if I choose a therapist, I want to choose a therapist who, what I call, is culturally competent, because I don't want to go into the stories and then the next thing you know, the therapist is crying and now you're responsible for that too. I mean, so I'm what you call a culturally competent attorney. That's what I'm saying.
I like that. Absolutely. So I apologize for the experiences that you've gone through, but they were very necessary to bring you to this point in your life now. Also to be a mentor, to be a living example that you can get through things and over things. If someone were to reach out to you via your website and saying, and it's their first time reaching out to anyone, and they had some sort of whatever problem it is with their department, how would you guide them through let's say we're going for the long haul? How would you guide them through from start to finish?
Okay, so I put my lawyer speak on and say that it depends, because it depends on what state you're in. And the first thing I'm actually getting ready. First of all, I do free 15-minute phone calls with anybody that needs it. So, and that, I try really hard to stick to 15 minutes, but I really care about what's happening, so I'm not good at it. But just for whatever your issue is, so that I can just right off the bat say, yes, I think there's something you can do about it, or no, there's nothing you can do about that. Because I think that's also something you should know. If you're like, oh, this sucks, and I want to do something, I'm like, I know, and I'm sorry, but there's nothing you can do. I think that's also an answer that people are looking for. And I can say, but if this happens or this, then call me back, because there's things you can do. Or, one time I said, hey, I talked to her, she needed some workers' comp help. I emailed her and said, here, copy and paste this exactly into your Google search bar. This will help you find the person you need to find in your area. And I didn't charge for that. So call me, we set up this 15-minute call. I'm getting ready to make it a little bit more streamlined, where I can ask some very specific questions so that I can be most effective for you in that free time. But at the end of the day, I do represent people and I charge for all that. So it's to get to the meat of it. What is the issue? What state are you in? If you want to tell me what department do you work for, what area you are in, because the smaller your department, the more help you're going to need, honestly. People who work at these big departments think, oh, it's just a bureaucratic nightmare. But in your bureaucratic nightmare, you still have more options than the people who work at a department where there's 7 people and you're chief. I've just so many bad stories of these super small departments where there's not a reporting procedure in place, or what do you do if you're being harassed? And it's challenging. So you call me, we go through the nuts and bolts of it as quickly as we can, and then I can say, yes, I think I can help you. No, I can't help you. And sometimes I think somebody can help you and it's not me, and I'll help you find that, or I'll direct you. Because I'm happy to do that too. So at the end of the day, if I can help you get your answers, then I'm helping you be happier. And that's what I want.
Gotcha. And so after helping people legally,
Mm-hmm.
and you also help them mentally through protective wellness, do you also help them in some kind of way physically as well, or do you make suggestions or get certain people in line to you should go for that walk, you should take up jogging again? How do you protect or get back the whole person?
Okay, so that's a great question.
Thank you.
I believe wellness is different than my idea of wellness. And I think it's a very personal thing. I'm not a therapist, so I'm not helping you. I can't help you work through trauma. There are a lot of people out there that can help you with that. And if you think even for 0.0001% of you has some of that, I highly recommend you find somebody, that priest, preacher, somebody in your community center, somebody that you can talk to. I would say be careful about doing that with a friend, because you're putting too much responsibility or burden on that friend to try and help you, and they want to help you, but they're not equipped to do that. So I'm not talking about therapy. I'm talking about, what does wellness mean to you? It's different for me than it is for Clee. My daily routines look different than your daily routines, but I definitely have a daily routine that I stick to that works for me. And that's something I try to be very proactive about. And so like my wellness training course helps guide you through, what does wellness mean to you? There are 4 fundamentals to wellness, which are physical, mental, spiritual, and social emotional. But what defining those, and then there are little tasks along the way to help you figure out things like, maybe you like fishing. I like sitting at the beach. Maybe you like mountain biking. I like going for a walk, or sometimes every 3 months running. I do a lot of yoga. You might not. So figuring out what those things are for you, but then implementing how do you do that? How can you figure out like habits around that? And I think once you do that, and then you follow me, I do live meditation every Friday. I think that's a huge component, and I call it neurological reset. And here's why: because the power of your breath, you can actually reset from the brain through your breath. Well, earlier we were talking about educate your mind, because your mind controls the body, but it actually is also the other way. And if you properly breathe, which is through breathing through your belly first, you're engaging a nerve, and then it travels up, and your body's telling your brain, oh, I'm okay. And when you can tell your brain you're okay, and through moments of stillness, it's only in moments of stillness where there's this thing called sleep, Clee. I know. That in moments of stillness or sleep, your body can calm down from the trauma, store memories, release memories that you don't need. But it's only in those moments of stillness and rest that you can actually recreate new neurological pathways. So that's what I call meditation for law enforcement. I call it a neurological reset. I didn't create the phrase. I use the phrase because it's scientifically proven. Something as simple as spending 5 minutes focusing on your breath. And you think, do that, I'm too busy, my mind won't stop. And I say all the time, great. It's not possible to stop. Just sit and breathe for 5 minutes while you're letting those thoughts go. That 5 minutes of stillness is one of the most amazing things you can do for yourself. It has the power of medicine. Truly, that's been proven also. I'm not a scientist, but Google it and you can find it.
Yeah, I remember. That sounds very similar to what they taught us in the Army for combat breathing. And I remember it was 4 seconds in, and it varies from each kind of institution. But it was 4 seconds in, holding your gut for 4 seconds out through your mouth. 4 seconds in through your nose, holding your gut, 4 seconds out through your mouth, and repeat that process, I think 4 times or something like that, especially in a high stress situation, a combat situation, and even in those moments when the anxiety's high, the stress is high, and the panic may be there, the adrenaline's high. You take that just to do it, even if you only have time to do it once. That mental reset will get you right back engaged to whatever you need to do, whether it's something you're actually working in a combat situation, or if you're it's a stressful day, and the bus was late picking up the kids, and you got a flat tire, and the grocery store was out of whatever you were looking for to make dinner for the night. So many different things, and by the end of the day, everything just went wrong. And you take that couple seconds just to reset and realize, like you said, in the grand scheme of things, in the world that we're on, is it that big of deal with everything that's going on in the universe?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've used it. I was walking into court one time to argue a motion against the defense. I was always on the plaintiff side and arguing against the defense motion. I was so nervous because it's me against I ended up losing the motion, which gutted my case from being a $2 million case to a $200,000 case, and ended up being overturned by the Louisiana Supreme Court. But in that day, it was shit, and it certainly it was a bad day. But again, first of all, also in the grand scheme of things, a lawsuit is nothing but a bunch of paper you're pushing back and forth. So what does it really matter? I mean, no, I'd rather come home and kiss my kids. That's what matters. Or doing that breathing technique and thinking oh my gosh, I'm gonna come home and drink a bottle of wine. That bottle of wine would not have helped me, but just doing the breathing, and just in that breathing, I'm okay, this is important in this moment, and I need to work on it. It's going to require a lot of work to fix it, which we did. But ultimately, it's through that breathing that you can put things in perspective. And I see some of the comments you guys that people are saying yes, it's still used in the military. Yes, it's taught in some for some law enforcement, but not near enough. I think it should be in the academy. I think it should be they make you fight in the academy. I had to get pepper spray, do all that stuff, and while you're in it, practice breathing. Somebody should be screaming at you to breathe while they're screaming at you to fight. I don't know. You can hear both. I don't know, but it should be a fundamental part of human life, but particularly for law enforcement, as you said, law enforcement and military, because you live at that hypervigilant state. So even if you're not fighting somebody, because that's, I would say 80-20 rule, but really it's 90% boredom and 10% sheer chaos. You're still living in that 90%. Something's going to happen, something's going to happen, something's going to happen at any point. And the second you say, oh, things are kind of slow tonight, you thought last night was going to be quiet for you, and it wasn't. So the breathing is breathing when you don't even know you need it. But also becomes that much more effective when you need it, when you're in a high stress situation. You should be working, if you're going through something tough at your agency and you need an attorney, all the more reason why you should be so focused on your wellness routines, things that have nothing to do with that legal problem. Read that book, go learn to knit, go fishing, go for a walk, eat that healthy food, even though you think that the hamburger and french fries will make you feel better. But you need it's all those things. The harder life is for you in the moment, the more you okay, but what's really going to help me right now? And it's things like that. So there, I'm off my soapbox now, Clee.
I appreciate it. You're over here preaching. I thought we were in church for a minute.
There you go.
Absolutely. So therefore, moving on to throughout the conversation, I know we had a certain list. I think we touched on a lot of things. But one question I do want to ask is, I hate asking this question, but because it's such a finite question. However, it's an important question because it kind of gets the brain thinking. What is your end game goal? And I know once you have a goal, you set another goal to achieve another goal. So technically, there's no end game. But in a perfect world, what would be the grandiose of your goals, maybe 3 to 5 years, 10 years down the road for you?
I definitely want I want to say a nationwide platform, so to speak, to address certainly how women are treated in law enforcement. And I just think that's a broader education piece. I think that the more you address those issues, the more I think also that can affect public perception. I think the more you see people in law enforcement treated fairly, even by their own agents, that I think that will affect recruiting numbers, not just with females. I think people are too worried about getting into law enforcement, and not only is it a dangerous job and too many people attacking law enforcement at higher numbers than ever before, but then that also you have to face potentially a city or a chief who, hopefully not a chief, but city council or just somebody in politics or government that's not supportive of you. All those things, it's really hurting law enforcement. And so I think that ultimately to have a platform where I am helping law enforcement, I am coaching them to, yes, stand up for yourself, yes, fight back, yes, it'll be hard. But at the end of the day, whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for the people who are going to come after you, because we need law enforcement. We need law and order. And I don't mean militaristic rule of law, and I'm not talking about like curfews and shipping people home. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you need people to know that there's boundaries with which they can act. And if they don't do that, there's consequences. And the consequence being maybe it's jail time. So you just need people, because it's all meant for us to stay safe. I think, are all laws smart? No. But, again, we don't make the laws, we enforce them. So go vote. I also really like voting. I'm a real dork that way. But in 3, 5, 10 years, it's that, certainly I guess more 5 to 10 years is that I do have that platform where I can help spread the right message, encourage the right action, help women and men and whomever make the right decisions so that it starts to turn the tide the other way. I think all of this is a pendulum. Honestly, I think at some point it'll swing back the other way. I think that's the good thing about another good thing about being 47, not 27. But also it'll take a while, I think, for that pendulum to swing back, because I think a lot of damage has been done in the last 2 or 3 years that will take the law enforcement numbers a while to come back. I do think it'll come back, but will it come back what it was? I don't know. But I think 3 to 5, 10 years is I just want to keep helping. I certainly, from a selfish standpoint, will grow my practice and be financially successful from that. I could certainly be more financially successful faster by charging more people for more things, but that's not my intention. My intention is to help. And then I think when you do things, you put the right energy out there, then it gives you back what you need. And so, yeah, I think it's having a platform where I can help shift that pendulum back the other way in a positive way for law enforcement.
Absolutely. You touched on a lot of good points there. And we talk on this platform that this job, this law enforcement is very cyclic. And when COVID hit, it kind of put us directly at the bottom. We were just seen across the world as the lowest of low. No one liked us. It was just a bad time. And it seemed like we were stuck down there for so long. You can kind of feel it, knock on wood, that we're slowly coming back up to where the purgatory area is, where, okay, I know you guys are here. It's nice to be seen but not heard. I appreciate you guys, but if I don't need you guys, you're just there. And then it's normally you get back to the top, which seems like it's very short-lived. I do remember a point in the career where you're on top and everybody seems to love you. Hey, how's it going? Hey, you guys be safe. We love you. Thank you for your service. Everything like that. And that it goes very cyclic. And it seems like we are coming out of that very low point of the career. But nationally, like you said, on a lot of agencies, not just law enforcement, are having hiring or retention problems. How do you feel that we could challenge that? Do you think that the wellness and getting yourself ready could help challenge that to keep seasoned officers there, or to not have them quit, or those college grads or military guys who are freshly coming out to want to go apply for law enforcement?
I think being very transparent about the stroke. So on the one hand, to say very transparent about the stroke, I think the law enforcement world knows that. I don't think the civilian world knows that, but I don't know how you get them to know that, because they never really can understand it. And so I think it's more of the people who have an interest in law enforcement need to see that they'll be taken care of. I think the younger generation, maybe it takes that a little too far sometimes. But hopefully if you're choosing law enforcement, it's because you realize you're getting into a job where you got to do the work. You got to be able to take care of yourself. And hopefully that's not the people who are looking at the quick fix, the right now, the microwave society, 30 seconds and I need it now. It's just not the way life is. I think that if we could really do more wellness, like from the very beginning, and that not just lip service, that no, like, yes, we want you to take this job. We want you to stay in this job. We want to support you in this job. And we do that by teaching you from the very beginning. I have said that wellness should be a high liability area, just like firearms. For my agency, it was firearms, driving, things like domestic violence or mentally impaired persons, things that have the highest chances of going bad, or driving, like getting on wrecks and stuff. So I think wellness should be considered a high liability, because also you're protecting your investment. I mean, you've been in a long time, you've been in the military. Think about all the thousands and thousands of dollars that have been spent on you from the military to now. I mean, for me, mine was a much shorter career, but I spent hours and hours training. I mean, the amount of time they spent on me just in the short amount of time I was there just went straight down the drain because I left. And it's an investment. I wouldn't take $100,000 of my retirement plan and set it on fire. Why would you do that when you spend that much money on an employee? And if you can do that, if you consider it to be a true high liability, that it is an investment and that you're hiring somebody for the long haul. I also think the world has changed a lot like that over the last many decades, where people don't really look at a job as being a lifelong investment. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. Now, don't look at my resume, because I've been a cop, I've been an attorney, but really, to me, it is one common thread. So, and I feel like I'm doing a much better job of weaving that into this rope of life that I've been dragging along with me. But I think we make a difference in that through truly investing in wellness in the individuals, and having these agencies, these cities look at it and treat us as investments that they want to keep. I'm going to keep saying it, but I really believe it matters. Every single one of you out there, when was the last time you actually voted? I think if you don't like it, even though you are enforcing the law, you can still vote for the people who are creating the law. You can still vote for the people that you're on your city council. And I'm talking about, I don't mean president. I mean state, county, city. Those are the people who are affecting your every single day job. Your mayor, your city council members, those are the ones making those stupid, crappy decisions about defunding this, that, or the other. Vote them out. That's what matters. Vote, and then tell everybody else to vote, because it's such a small percentage of people of our just nationwide population who actually get out and vote. My own husband's like, I'm not going to vote. It doesn't matter. Like, well, then you're part of the problem. Of course it matters. We had this one election here in Houston, where I live. It's a fourth largest city in the country. When a major position in our county was won or lost by 18,000 votes, and that 18,000 is a lot, but not when there's 5 million people in this county.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a very small percentage when you consider how many people. I don't want to say the county. 5 million, I think, is the city of Houston. I can't remember. Google it, but it's a lot of people. So I think, like, I thought about studying constitutional law when I was in law school, because I really believe in the structure of the law. Is it perfect? No. Yes. And we all have a responsibility in that. So the young people on listening to this right now, someday you're going to be a sergeant, a lieutenant, or a captain, or a major, or more. You have a responsibility to do the right thing. That doesn't mean just following along like a sheep. I think that we can all take responsibility to make things better. And that's not always the easiest path, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. And I encourage all of you to seek it out and push harder and do better.
Good point. Good point. Thank you. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stay tuned, because Sergeant Be Safe is coming to the scene.
Run up in your grip like my name was Search Warrant.
Hey guys, I just got this vape from Treacherous Tony. It tastes pretty nasty, but I look cool with it, right? You guys should give it a try. Be cool like me.
Nah, you look pretty stupid. And if you get caught with that thing, you're gonna be in big, big trouble. Besides, I heard Treacherous Tony is that lame guy who likes to come around and hang around little kids. If you're hanging with him, you must be lame too. Come on, guys, let's get out of here before we get in trouble like Cooper too.
Oh no! Sergeant, be safe!
You kids get out of here. Cooper, tell me where you got that from.
I won't snitch.
I don't see what's so funny. Vape pens like that can lead to harder drugs and cause more problems for you. They're not appropriate for little kids such as yourself. So I suggest you do the right thing and tell me who you got it from.
Treacherous Tony gave it to me.
Tristan, I want you to take me there now. Are you?
Yes, I'm Treacherous Tony. What do you want?
Do you have a card? And why are you selling this to kids?
Yeah, I got a medical marijuana card. I don't sell it to kids. I give it to them.
You give it to them? What kind of an adult are you?
It's a vape pen. What's the big deal?
Are you kidding me? The big deal?
Get out of here, Sergeant No Safe.
Sometimes I just wanna... Yep, I think I will.
All right. I give up. I won't do it again.
That's right, you won't. You're off to jail. Put your hands up and come with me. Remember, kids, what's made for adults aren't suitable for kids. Those vape pens may look cool, but they are not good for you. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Oh no! Sergeant, be safe!
Subscribe now.
And there we have it. Sergeant Be Safe, just another fun way to get safety tips out there. You have a lot of fun doing it. One Way Publishing likes to bring those safety tips to the forefront. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back. Got Bridget Truxillo here. We've had a wonderful conversation. Bridget, through the course of conversation, we talked about a lot of things. Is there anything that I may have forgotten to ask you, or through the course of conversation, did it jog your memory? Is there anything that you would like to share with us that we have not already covered? Right now, the floor is yours.
No, I mean, I think we covered even more than I did not. I did not know I was going to get on my Go Vote soapbox tonight. So, although hopefully you can tell that I'm passionate about that. No, we did cover a lot. I think, I covered not too long ago. Somebody said when I was telling my story about SWAT, they said, "Do you have any regrets?" And I said, "No, I don't. Even though it was not great, I don't regret it." But what they were asking is, do I regret how I handled it? And what my regret is that I never spoke up for myself. I never reported the treatment that I thought was so unfair. Even when I was given straight up opportunities when my captain came to talk to me about, and I was like, nope, because I was just too proud. I thought, no, I'm just going to work hard and people will respect my work. And at the end of the day, that didn't matter. And what I can say is that it took me a decade and a half to let go of that, because it affected me so much, and because I gave everything I had to that and SWAT and everything. And so my advice to you is, don't do that. Say something, speak up. If you need advice on that, whether it's from me or some other attorney, if you're in a union, reach out to them and see if they can help you give you some advice on it. My only regret is that I never stood up for myself, used my voice, because I think that can help. Because you can't fix what you don't know is broken. And so what if I had said something and it could have gotten somebody the coaching, this, like maybe they needed some supervisor training. I don't know if that existed for my department. I don't think it did, but I don't know. And so maybe things could have been different if I had reported it the way that I was given the opportunity to. So I just encourage everybody out there, whether it's you're hurt and you don't know if you should make a claim because you're afraid that they'll take it out on you, dealing with some harassment, retaliation, whatever it is, or if you're just really struggling and you don't know, and you're afraid to tell somebody that you're stressed, don't let another day go by without asking somebody for some help in some way, because like I've said, you're gonna have to leave this job someday, and I want you to be as happy and healthy as you can when you do that.
Good points, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you, Bridget, for making yourself available and come on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys check out her website that's scrolling below. It's also in the comment section. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you're watching the replay, make sure you reach out in the comment section. And if you have a question specifically for her, I'll make sure that she gets that question I'll get that question to her so she can address it as well. Bridget, thank you again. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to watching you flourish. As we move on, I'm looking forward to having you back on the show to address other topics that are well within the wheelhouse as well.
Would love that. Thank you so much. And you're doing great work. It makes a difference even if you don't hear from people that it does. I say a lot, you always hear the negative, but you don't always hear the positive. But 100%, you're putting positive waves out into the world. So thank you for doing this and keep doing it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Obviously, we have a comment before we go. Don't want a great live. Yep, absolutely. Good information shared. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we go live weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, once a week, every week. 2023, we're taking it by storm. We're going to have a lot of fun. So tune in next week. We have a very special guest coming again. We're going to learn a lot more things. So make sure you guys take heed and come back for more. Here's Sergeant Be Safe on our way out. Thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen. 10-4, over and out.
I can't wait until my new children's book is finally published. Just riding along in my car listening to music.
Yeah, of course you are. And you're not looking in your rearview mirror either.
OMG, is that Sergeant Be Safe behind me? Guess I should get out of the way.
Oh my goodness! Pull over to the right and get out of the way! There's an emergency up ahead and I need to get there! Drivers, you should be operating your vehicle with your radio at a reasonable level. You should also be aware of your surroundings, including what's behind you. So when I come through with my flashing lights and siren, you can immediately get out the way and I can go help whoever's in danger or whatever emergency is happening. Those seconds that it takes for you to pull over are very valuable. Me and my friends need every second imaginable so we can properly serve you. So pull over to the right immediately when you see our lights and sirens so we can go save a life.
Ah, my packages have finally arrived. About time. I'm sure glad I live in an area where nothing happens. Only action around here are deer chomping on people's flowers. I'll take him in after I get done cutting his hair grass. This is my favorite pastime.
Aha! I see a package left unattended.
Another crime of opportunity.
Easy pickings for a guy like me. Oh no! There's Be Safe again.
Sergeant Be Safe, is that
there.
You? It's good to see you.
Looks like I'm right on time again. Rob, you blind? Get out of there.
People make it so easy for me to get caught.
Hold on now. He really wanted to steal my packages?
Yes, he did.
Sergeant Be Safe, you're the best. The coolest cat in the land. You saved the day again. We need more like you, brother. We need more like you.
Trust me, I truly appreciate the glory and accolades. But you can really thank me by being vigilant over your property and making my job easy. Well, back to jail you go. Ooh. Package thieves are the worst. Even if you can't get home in time, invest in a security camera so you can catch these thieves. And their next view will look like this. Trust me, this isn't a good view. These seats aren't made for comfort, they're made to transport. Kids, this is one seat you don't want to sit in. Just imagine what your parents would think. Ooh. And this is Sergeant Be Safe giving you another tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.